Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about attachment theory and objective personality. This is actually a very important concept to go over, and I'm just introducing it in this video. There's kind of a lot of depth with this topic. I've not even really understood everything about this yet, but I know enough to present something. I'm going to be very curious how people are receiving this or how other people think about attachment theory, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. All right, so specifically in this video, we're going to be defining and contextualizing attachment theory for objective personality. I'm going to be going through some examples and yeah. So why attachment theory? Basically, if you're interested in relationships and you think that they matter, including the relationship to yourself, but taking into account the relationships you have with your family, your friends, coworkers, other people. Yeah, just how you are able to connect with others and why things go right, why things go wrong, and why there are different sources of tension in either direction. It also, studying attachment can also help us find our place in the world because there's going to be 4 different attachment styles that we're going to go over. And each one of those attachment styles has a different calling. What type of person naturally behaves a certain way or connects with people in a certain way. It can help us learn how we are meant to be connecting with others. Lastly, it'll help you truly and authentically be yourself. In case you don't know what attachment styles are, here are the 4 different attachment styles. Now, a lot of times they have different names, but usually you'll have one that's anxious, you'll have another one that's avoidant, and the one that has less of both will be secure, and the one that has more anxiousness as well as avoidance, it'll be seen as fearful or disorganized. The one on the left here is dismissive avoidant, where they have low anxiety but high avoidance. And then on the right, they have high anxiety and high avoidance, so it's fearful avoidant. So that's basically you have both problems. One thing I'll say just right off the bat is that the secure attachment style isn't really all it seems to be. Now, that is a separate take that I don't know that many people have, but the secure attachment has its own issues, but we'll go over that a little bit. So the 4 attachment styles, again, are secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. I'll probably call it fearful, but these are some basic words to go along with each. People are generally striving towards a secure attachment style. So this one is going to be confident, self-worth, and they'll accept support. The anxious attachment style is going to be clingy, highly emotional, seeking reassurance a lot, whereas the avoidant will have a separate set of issues, which is distant, unemotional, avoids closeness. Finally, we have disorganized, which is going to have a combination of these problems where it's intense, there's going to be a push-pull dynamic, and they're going to be very unpredictable. So that's disorganized, otherwise known as fearful avoidant. So the way I'm going to be describing attachment styles is going to be using 2 coins. Now, this is very similar to how objective personality lays out the different categories of personality. I've been seeing that with attachment styles, there are basically these 2 coins. You have anxiousness on one coin and you have avoidance on another coin. So you can have both, you can have neither, or you can have one of them on and the other one off. So to illustrate that, I'm going to make a correlation with social types. So I have a hypothesis that attachment styles are very closely related with social types. They may be overlapping completely. They may be tracking the same exact pattern. In social types, we have anxiousness as generalization. So the number 2s are kind of looking everywhere, grabbing everything, grabbing a lot of different opportunities and looking for different creative ways to do things, right? But when it comes to relationships, they may need constant assurances that everything is fine. So I correlate avoidance with flex. So if you have flex, you're going to be avoidant. If you don't have flex, you're going to be less avoidant. So here, breaking it down further, the social type correlation is that if you're anxious, you're going to have generalization. more than specialization. If you're avoidant, then you're going to have self-motivated over the tribe-motivated issues. So here's a breakdown where number ones kind of have both, but number twos are going to be the most anxious, kind of pure anxiety. Number threes are going to have a more pure form of avoidance. Number fours are going to have a muted version of both anxiousness and avoidance. For example, the number twos are going to really not have that many avoidant characteristics. And the number threes are not going to have many anxious characteristics. So they're going to be low on a spectrum. So it's important to view this kind of like a spectrum. And which one are you on? Are you on the extreme of either side of the spectrum on these, or are you kind of in the middle, leaning a little bit one way or the other? So here there's more descriptions about attachment styles. You can read these, but basically a lot of videos on YouTube are going to cover attachment style much better than I can here. But specifically what I want to do here is what I want to do in this video is describe attachment styles in a new way, as well as relating it to objective personality. So using the coins, that's kind of a novel way of explaining it. So this chart here is, I think, worth looking at a little bit because it covers how the secure can be very friends-like, where it can trust fairly easily, and it becomes about trust issues. So the secure attachment style is able to lead with cooperative and flexible behaviors in relationships, and they can communicate upsets directly. Whereas the avoidant fearful, which is the number ones, they have low self-esteem, they strongly fear rejection, they have high anxiety in relationships. And so that's how I'm seeing it, at least. The anxious folks are going to have a very sensitive nervous system. They're going to have a struggle to communicate needs directly, and they're going to have a tendency to act out when triggered. Meanwhile, the avoidant dismissives are going to downplay the importance of relationships. They're usually extremely self-reliant, and they can become more vulnerable when there is a big crisis. So that definitely sounds like the number threes, right? I thought this one really hit the nail on the head on a lot of these overlaps. I figured this particular graphic covers the overlaps between social type and attachment styles. Moving on, there's a question of who actually has the most secure attachment style. And, it's debatable. I would say it is debatable. I would say it's number fours who more naturally have a secure attachment style. But the problem with everything here is that it depends on how much nurturing you've had as a child. I think for number ones, it's very easy to not be nurtured. And for number fours, it's a little easier to find the nurturing in that sense. Okay, that's not right. I think there's an interesting thing going on with number ones and fours where number ones will appear to be more insecure and number fours will appear to be more secure. It's definitely going to take a lot more investigating to see how secure attachment styles work. So without further ado, I want to go through some examples. That's going to be the meat and potatoes of this particular presentation. All of my examples are going to be in the beta quadra. And the purpose of why I'm sharing these examples is so that you have a steady flow of sensor real people to look at. So that's externally verifiable data. They're going to be about people who you can see out there in public. You can use these examples to learn more about how attachment is playing out in these with these other people. You can reflect on that information and bring that into your own life and see how that's working. By looking at people with the same functions, it's going to simplify the psychology elements that are coming into play. So starting with example number one, we're starting off with Trump. So this is fearful avoidant. That's going to take into account both avoidance and anxiousness. So this is his OP type. I'm going to be listing every single one of these four examples. I'm going to be listing their OP type as well as which one they are. Fearful avoidant, ESTP, Donald Trump. He's got anxiousness, yes. He's got avoidance, yes. These types are often called narcissistic or thin-skinned, and it's not wrong, but there's a lot more going on. So down here, I put some things like, what is the antidote? And I think, there's certain things that can be done to start healing those attachment wounds. But anyway, that's trusting people slowly. There's a reason why I put that there. because you're going to have a lot of issues and there's a lot of sensitivity with this group. I would know. But yeah, what the upside is I said that they're solid and predictable. Now, a lot of people will say that it's unpredictable, but I think it's predictably unpredictable. So after being dramatic, it's you can always count on Donald Trump to look out for himself, to fire people he doesn't like. You can see that he mopes around if he gets rejected. You can see that he is stressed out about things that are problematic. So there's a lot of anxiousness. It's not very calm. It's not very withdrawn. He deals with problems very quickly. He deals with issues and situations very fast, and he doesn't really take a lot of time. So it is coming from more fearful, avoidant place, but at the same time, if you can harness that power, it can do pretty well. So other examples include Obama, Gary Vee, Andrew Tate, Kevin Hart, and myself. So we're all number ones. Now, I'm not in the beta quadra, but otherwise everyone's using the same functions, but they're all number ones. And so they have this, in my opinion, this fearful avoidance streak, but they're all going to manifest it differently. They're all going to use it differently. So Gary Vee will take his insecurities and he'll put that into a business. That's similar to what Donald Trump did. Andrew Tate is doing all kinds of things and with his fearful avoidant or insecure traits. But you can see with all of these guys, there's Obama in there, Kevin Hart with the comedy, there's a lot of power within this insecurity that if you can handle it, then you can channel that fear, the avoidance and the anxiety into doing more work. And you may live in a capitalistic society that rewards that. Now, is that the right thing to do? Possibly not. So that's why I put the antidote here is trusting people slowly. Now, whether or not people like prescriptions, I think that that's something that people could use because all of these people can maybe not be that trusting. Myself included, I would know. I would definitely know about that. Even though this is kind of like the worst type in terms of attachment styles, you're fearful avoidant, you're both anxious and avoidant. I think there are some upsides here, but there are some significant downsides that I think being aware of this issue, it can help to know that you're anxious or you're avoidant or both. So a more direct example is anxiousness, straight up, courtesy of Will Smith. He is our second example. His type is FESE, play, blast, consume, sleep. Number 2, audio. And he is our example for anxiousness because he's taking in other people's opinions and he's making sure people are okay. He's not okay if other people are not okay. So yes, anxiousness. He talks about, his relationship with his parents and things like that, where he would have a lot of anxiousness around that and he'd want to people please for that sake of resolving other people's issues. So it's not simply about being tribe above self, but the anxiousness that comes from being a number 2 is you're trying to solve other people's problems. So I think Jada Smith goes through her own issues, and when Will Smith sees that Jada is upset, Will Smith is going to react because he is very anxiously attached to her. Is he avoidant? No. And I would say number 2s generally, or the anxious type is generally going to present a lot fewer of the avoidant characteristics. So here I said the antidote is about building self-reliance and boundaries. Now that is probably something they've heard a lot before. I myself have these issues because I have both anxiousness and avoidance, but what's the upside? The upside is that those who are anxiously attached are highly connective after having their needs fulfilled. So as long as they've got what they need for the most part, at least somewhat, if their cup is half full, they're going to be ready to serve everybody. And possibly if their cup is empty, they're going to try to serve everybody. So other examples include Alex Hermosi, Stephen Bartlett, Ali Abdaal. So this type is definitely going to be good for entrepreneurship. It's going to have that kind of ADHD feel, but at the same time, it's going to have a lot of struggles with it. There's going to be a lot of tension. There's going to be a lot of anxiety and a lot of hand-holding that may need to be done for these people to succeed in life. So without generalizing, there, especially someone like Alex Hermosi has probably built a lot of self-reliance and boundaries that he's doing well. in spite of having a predisposition for anxiousness, he may have covered his bases, and all kinds of people can put solutions in place, or they can do work on themselves to keep themselves steady through their attachment issues. And yeah, maybe, every single person on this list has done a lot of work on themselves. Example number 3 is Henry Cavill. I put him here as avoidant, and he's working on his computers and his tools and gadgets. And yeah, it's kind of the withdrawn type. They don't need you as much to a fault because attachment is very healthy. It's important to have human relationships. So his OP type is double feminine, SEFE, play, consume, sleep, blast, last, with number 3 as a social type. He's characterized as a dismissive avoidant. Now, of course, in order to be a celebrity, he's probably had to overcome a lot of these issues. And it's definitely possible for people to overcome a lot of their attachment issues. But I'm just saying that this is kind of the natural genetic kind of way that people go. That if you're a number 3, you're probably going to be more on the avoidant side, and maybe you have really good relationships and attachments and all that. We're all naturally wired to fit in one of these 4 categories. So anxiousness, no, he doesn't have that, but avoidance he does have. So the antidote here would be to connect with new people consistently. And the upside is that he's reliable and predictable after managing to connect. The issue with number 3s is that they're not really going to seek out new connections, or they're not going to necessarily nurture relationships as much. It's kind of like, I don't need you, or you don't need me, I don't need you kind of thing. There are very thick walls that are drawn up between them and other people. You probably know people like this, and it's really helpful to learn boundaries from these people, but sometimes you can set up too many boundaries with people. Other examples of number 3s include Chris Williamson, Kurt Cobain, Selena Gomez. So yeah, basically just leave these people alone. They're going to get whatever they need to get done. But then what happens is that they actually do want to connect. And so that's something that it takes 2 people to make a relationship. And a lot of times the avoidants are the ones not really putting the energy in. But, sometimes they do. And that's really good. But it takes a lot of effort, and I don't want to shit on them too much. Yeah, there's probably a lot of videos out there on how to connect with avoidant people, and it's probably one of the toughest connections to really hold. So last one here is example number 4. We got Keanu Reeves, your buddy, your friend. I should have started with this. I would have had better energy. Yeah. So the securely attached Keanu Reeves is an ISTP. He's double feminine, TISE, consume, sleep, play, blast, last, number 4. What happens with these types is that they're not really anxious and they're not really avoidant. But what ends up happening is that there are a lot of these like kind of lower level relationships. You see him hanging out with homeless people. You'll see him hanging out with all kinds of people and giving back. So it's a very secure, very calm, really, an idealistic person. This is who everyone should strive to be. But at the same time, where we saw a lot of power with the number 1s, there's a lot of, I have to say that there's a lot that's left on the table here, but I think that's all right. I think there's plenty more good qualities when it comes to these people than bad. You possibly will be withholding your talent, or you may not be doing as much as you can, because the more we attach to others, the more insecure we'll be, because we're more exposed to, oh, I have to help you now. So what's the antidote here? Now, if you're secure, you probably got a good life and you have good friendships, good relationships. I think the one prescription I would make is to level up in order to serve your existing connections better. It might be the case that your parents are sick. It might be the case that your friends need your help, but you don't have the means to help them. Yeah, just being able to level up and serve your connections, that's going to be the antidote. But honestly, I think these people probably have it the best. I think there's a reason why everyone strives to be secure. And I think there are some number 4s struggling out there. So I'm not trying to say that number 4s have it made, but if you can make it to a really good place with secure attachment, that is the goal. So what's the upside with these people is that you're present and consistent before developing strength and power to give. So not everyone needs $1 billion from you. You don't need to start $1 billion charity. You don't need to do anything really that crazy. You don't need to be Bill Gates. You don't need to solve malaria. You don't need to cure cancer. Just being a good person is quite enough. Other examples include Jason Momoa, Travis Kelce, and David Burtka. I was going to include Robin Williams, but he's, in the Delta Quadra. Those would be some good ones to look at for secure attachment styles. Now, having made it through those examples, basically, I just want to talk about a few more things. Based on these statistical trends of self reports, and we know how good self reports can be, that 71% of people do highlight having at least one of these insecure attachments, and that's up from 62%. So people are realizing that they have more of this insecure attachment styles, which would be any of the avoidant or anxious or both. I do believe that 100% of people will experience at least one of anxiousness or avoidance. As we see, depression and anxiety is on the rise. I mean, when it comes to, as we can see with a lot of psychological issues, they can be on the rise, but really people are becoming more aware of their own psychological issues. A lot of people can feel anxiousness. A lot of people can feel avoidance. Now, how bad is it going to be? And is secure attachment really missing in both of these? Or is a naturally secure person just having a lighter dose of anxiousness and avoidance that is more of a soft hum than a loud roar? Here I'm saying that no one is truly secure all the time every day. So whether you're a number 4 or a number 1, you're going to have some insecurities. You're going to have some insecurities once in a while, at least. Yeah, so one of the main takeaways of this video is that there are 2 attachment categories. It's anxiousness and avoidance, and you can view them as binary coins, that you're one way or the other. But we're all kind of on a spectrum for anxiousness. We're all kind of on a spectrum for avoidance. But being aware of these categories can make all the difference to begin healing our relationship wounds and our traumas. Just being aware of these concepts can really help a lot. Here I have a quote: "A feeling of aversion or attachment towards something is your clue that there's work to be done." So I think the thing that is harder to grasp is that when you're having a feeling of aversion towards something, that there's work to be done. I think the other one makes sense. But sometimes when you're withdrawing from an opportunity to connect, that is a sign that there's something wrong, that there's something going on with you. So it's a quote by Ram Dass, and yeah. So my final parting thought is that we can all grow to have more secure attachments in our relationships. So it doesn't matter which type you are or which style you have, your attachments can always be a little healthier, and awareness can help a lot. Thank you for watching. There's going to be more videos on this topic as well as others. Those videos are on the way. And this is definitely a topic I'm going to revisit, and there's many different angles to go for this. But I wanted to share these 2 coins as something that I'm seeing as a complete overlap with social type. I'm still gathering evidence for that. That's something I'm still investigating. So I want you to comment down below. How do you feel about attachment theory? Do you think that there's a significant correlation with objective personalities, social types? Do you see any other correlations? Do you have any ideas about attachment theory that might be relevant to objective personality or psychology? Yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me know what you would want to hear more about, or if you have video ideas. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.